Yes, the New York Giants Sports Talk and Entertainment. Like I promised yesterday, we're going to get into a couple Giant things, but we're going to get into the Giants playoff predictions or picture. I see so much on Instagram and Twitter and all this stuff that the Giants can still make the playoffs. The Giants are still in the hunt for the NFC East. Okay, let's take a look at this mathematically and see exactly what our chances are or even remotely are of making the playoffs. And I went and looked at the Vegas odds. We're not even going to get into the Vegas odds. I'm a big Vegas odds guy for a reason, but let's do this right now. Let's get a piece of paper out and a pencil. I have a piece of paper and pencil, and let's write down the Giants' record at 2-7 and the Eagles at 3-4-1. Now, none of this makes a difference if the Giants lose on Sunday. If the Giants lose on Sunday, your trip to Oz is not going to be worth anything. Your ticket, you might as well just tear up your ticket because it's just not going to matter. So this only matters if the Giants win. So that would make the Eagles 3-5-1 and the Giants 3-7. So let's look at the rest of the Giants' schedule real quick. So after that, we play the Bengals. I don't even call the Bengals game a gimme game anymore because Joe Burrows is something special. I've watched a lot. I love having the Dish and Sunday Ticket because you get to see everything. I like Joe Burrows, but let's just say for argument's sake, we give the Giants the win in Cincinnati, which would make us 4-7. Okay, then the next game we have is Seattle, so that makes us 4-8. And then we are going to play the Cardinals. The Cardinals are coming back after that fiasco that we had with Pat Shurmur last year, which was a terrible game. That was just a rotten game, man. I was at that game like I am every year. The rain, it was just Kyler Murray. He's just a special guy. He really is. He's just a special quarterback. That defense is something that is really starting to gel. They have some skills they have the skills to pay the bills on offense. So I'm giving that as a Giant loss. So that is going to make them 4-9. So then if we even take a look at the Browns game, most people are saying, well, the Browns this and the Giants can beat the Browns. I don't see the Giants beating the Browns. So I'm saying that is 4-10. And then we're looking at the Ravens game. Now, come on, guys. We're not beating the Ravens in Baltimore with that defense. So that's 4-11. I'll give us the Dallas win. That's 5-11. So the Giants mathematically are looking at, if you go from a logistical standpoint and just kind of look at the team and look at everything else, the Giants can finish Giants will finish maybe 5-11. So then if we run over to the Eagles, like I said, let's give the Eagles a loss to, let's say, I don't see the, all right, let's give the Eagles a loss to the Browns. So that makes them 3-6-1. And then we can even give them a loss to Seattle. Except that is just a tough call because Seattle, I'm going to give them the loss to Seattle, but I'm not feeling good about the loss to Seattle. And then they're going to play the Green Bay Packers. So let's say they're 3-8-1. And they're going to play the Saints. The Saints play lousy outdoors, so I give them 4-8-1. Then they are playing the Cardinals in the Cardinals. So even if we give them a loss at that is 4-9-1. I give them a win at Dallas, so that's 5-9-1. And then I'm going to give them a win against Washington, which is 6-9-1. And like I said before, so the Giants would then, it would be the record of 6-9-1 to 5-11. So a lot of things have to happen. And I said a long time ago, I feel that this division can be taken with a losing record. I said 7-9 could take this division. So right now I'm seeing 6-9-1 for the Eagles taking this division. And like I said, I gave them a loss against Seattle. I'm not 100% sold on Seattle this year. And then they have the Saints in Philadelphia. The Saints outside of the Dome, that's just trouble. That really is just trouble. So if you're thinking the Giants are going to win the division at 5-11, it's not going to happen. I mean, it's great to have hope. It's great to be pumped up about your team. but sometimes realism has to kind of fall into play. I mean, right now, it's just you have to take a look at the schedule. And like I said, the Eagles have a tough schedule. The Eagles have a tough schedule at the end. So do the Giants. And I love it because the odds makers are giving the Giants a 5% chance of making the playoffs. They're giving them a 5% chance, and they have them projected to finish at 4-12. I gave them that extra win to give them to make it 5-11. To try to make, and honestly, I did that to try to make it interesting. And also, I might have done that because it was might have been a little of the fandom coming out, showing that maybe we could make the playoffs. But it's not a realistic goal. You know what the realistic goal should be for the Giants? Playing all the young guys. It's almost like the end of an NBA game when you're getting beat out by 20. You just play all the young guys. You play all the guys at the end of the bench. It's the same thing in college football when it's the last game of the season. You got 4 minutes left. You just play all the seniors. But we're going to do this in reverse. We're just going to play all the young guys because we need to see what talent we have. We have to see what these guys can do. And if we're going to be losing games, it doesn't matter if we lose the game by 3 or by 10. If we can't assess and judge the talent that we have at 2-7 halfway through the season, it's just not gonna it's not gonna bode well for 2021 because we need to start building and looking into 2021. We need to start looking at the draft of 2021. We need to start looking at free agency, and we need to start early free agency, and we need to start looking at what players that we have on this team that we think are building blocks. And that's going back from Dave Gettleman's last 3 drafts. It's the same thing with Austin Mack. We need to see Austin Mack get more offensive snaps. We need to see him play more. I know a lot of people are excited about what good game he had a good game against Washington, but we need to actually see him play more than 4 quarters. And I think we get as fans, we get so pumped up that this guy looks good. Okay, but it's 4 quarters. And I've said this a million times, and I've sat in defensive meeting rooms. Once teams get more film on somebody, all of a sudden they need to adjust. Because once defensive coordinators get film and get an idea of players' tendencies, they then play to their tendencies. And something that nobody wants to discuss is the disappearance of Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton, since going back to October 18th, has had 2 receptions, 5 receptions, 1 reception. He had 1 reception for 6 yards against Washington. So, and then he played in 84, 92, 93% of the plays. So, someone needs to explain to me where Darius has gone. Now, are we going to blame the quarterback? Because we know we don't blame Daniel Jones for anything. Daniel Jones is the Bart Simpson of the NFL. There's a classic. I love The Simpsons. There's a classic episode where Bart's in school and he's got a yo-yo and he breaks the fish tank and the yo-yo's in the fish tank and the other end of the yo-yo is attached to Bart's finger and he says, "I didn't do it." That's, to me, is sometimes Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones fumbled. "I didn't do it." He threw an interception. "No, it was his fault. I didn't do it." So is the disappearance of Darius Slayton because the league has adjusted to Darius, or is it because Daniel Jones isn't getting him the ball? And I think we may have to do a video, get a little bit more in depth than that, because of the fact that, like I said, Darius, he hasn't had great games outside of week 1 and week 5. Week 1, he had his 8 catches for 102 yards. And then week 5, he had his 8 catches for 129. After that, it's 33, 53, 41, 23, 56, 6. So is the league adjusting to Darius Slayton? Or is Daniel Jones just not getting the kid the ball? And if he's going to be our number 1 receiver after next year in 2021. Now, I've never thought that Darius Slayton was a number 1. I've always thought Darius Slayton is a number 2. I've always felt that his skill set lent him to be more of a Sterling Shepard with speed. And I think he's got a lot more speed than Sterling. But I think that's what he is. I think he's a number 2. I think he's Sterling Shepard with speed. And there's nothing wrong with that because I think Sterling Shepard's a great wide receiver. Not a great wide receiver, a good wide receiver. He's a good NFL wide receiver. But what's the problem? Are we just not getting him the ball in the right position? Because Daniel Jones is still throwing 40-something times a game, 30 times a game. So these are the questions that, you know what, and I laugh because Golden Tate was, you could hate what Golden Tate said, but Golden Tate was 100% correct. Maybe he didn't go about and say it the right way, but he's 100% right. I mean, we're not pushing the ball downfield, and I don't know if we're not pushing the ball downfield by design because of the fact that he has missed on so many big open receivers. And of course, he has a tendency if he stays low. And I get concerned that the Giants' thought process is, Jason Garrett's thought process is, if we keep him in the pocket, that he's going to have more of an opportunity to turn the ball over or fumble. You know, I mean, these are things that I think of. I mean, but like I said, where did Darius Slayton go? You know, and it's, you know, teams are still respecting Evan Ingram. You know, Golden Tate was on the field. But I didn't even think about this yesterday or over the weekend. Darius Slayton had 1 catch. He had 1 catch and 1 target. And he played in 65 plays, 84% of the plays. And he also had the 1 rush for 2 yards. So we need to figure out how we're going to get Darius back involved because that's really one of the ways we're going to win. He's one of our true breakout guys besides Evan Ingram. The ability to spread the defense. And I think people need to look at the Daniel Jones picture before they figure out, you know, if something's wrong with Daniel Jones, maybe something's wrong with Darius Slayton. But like I said, or it could be the fact that D's are just keen on him because they now know his tendencies and he's not adjusting. I've said this a million times. I've seen it firsthand. You know, we talked about the wide receiver at Tampa that had the 1 big year, Clayton. He had 1 big year in Tampa, 1,000 yards, and then he had 6 years when he didn't catch anything. He couldn't catch a cold. And he even came over the Giants. He got a ring with the Giants, I believe, in 2007. But he had that 1 big year. The league adjusted, and he never adjusted with the league. And so is our concern now Darius, or is our concern still going to be Daniel Jones? Because we all know Daniel Jones is not responsible for anything because he was 6th overall. I know, I'm just being facetious. Someone said in the message, you know, I like you, but sometimes you're mean-spirited. There's nothing mean about it. I don't hate Daniel Jones. I don't hate Darius Slayton. I don't hate anybody. I'm not mean-spirited about anything. I'm just honest. And I think we need, as Giants fans, a little bit more honesty, a little bit more humility in the fact that I don't know how much more humble you can get at 2-7, but the humility in regards to the fact to think that we're going to make the playoffs is just like I said. We did the breakdown. I had us 5-11. Vegas has us 4-12, and I gave us that extra win because I'm a fan. But again, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. And as always, if you could subscribe, if you could ring that bell, I think you know what that means. That'd be awesome.